But no, they're still keeping it strong. They're still enjoying the game, and that's the most important thing. And, you know, them staying in that league and keeping up the survival, sorry. It's just so cool to see them. Like, it's been with us ever since the start, right? When we started casting China, 2017, early 2017. Yeah. They've been with us. They've been the Titan Slayers, taking down SPT and CE all the time. It really wouldn't feel the same if it didn't have RPG in it.
So now here it is. RPG fighting for security right now. This is not for any... This is obviously going to, if they do win, put them closer to going to Eastern Clash as well. They could try and make a run and take down BTG. In fact, they would only be 2 games away from doing so. But the fact is, for RPG, this battle is about survival right now. It is keeping them safe and secure without having to worry about it in the playoffs next week. As the bans start out, Hammer getting banned away pretty early in this draft, and as does the Genji and the Phoenix, 2 heroes that are very aloofal heavy.
Yeah, so it really seems like CE just doesn't want to give those high impact ranged carries over to RPG, and they still trust aloofal enough that he can do it on other heroes, because as you said, I don't even know how many games in the previous past he's played on those 2.
Counter, this could also be a opportunity for CE to realize things. It is the 3-ban system, and already they have had issues with aloofal basically being forced onto Phoenix every single game. They might just be trying to practice aloofal's hero pool here and just give him more opportunities to try new heroes and practice having their hero pools potentially choked out, because notice they still didn't pick an assassin despite banning 2 themselves. Now we have Tracer stolen away, and RPG can ban another assassin. This is going to be a massive choke onto aloofal, and this is going to give them practice in this kind of scenario, which could easily happen at the Eastern Clash.
Yeah, I definitely see that point that you're raising here, and maybe that's exactly the thought process of the coach they're using at the moment, right? Trying to encourage his players. You know what could happen to you at the Eastern Clash? Well, people who are doing research, they're going to ban out one of your strongest players, in that case aloofal, and you're going to have to deal with it. And instead of being afraid of getting choked even further, they're banning more assassins.
They are absolutely putting maximum possible effort onto forcing aloofal out of his comfort zone. A little bit of that onto Juyu as well. They want to give themselves the practice because they always rely on the same heroes here. So they're bringing out different heroes who can give them the most variety. They can practice lower down the tier list, and very sensibly, RPG is going to play right into them and say, yes, you know what, sure, we will let you practice this because it's best for us. You having a much lower tier assassin gives us a much better chance of winning.
And what did we see before, earlier in the day, when RPG managed to get that 2-0 victory? It was a false set. Over and over again, Lockjar was playing that hero. He was doing it with the Hinterlands Blast and Material Judgment. And up to this point, this draft that RPG has assembled here looks very much reminiscent of what we've seen earlier before, right? So CE not only doing this assassin experiment, as you said, but they're also taking away the most formidable weapon that Lockjar has in his arsenal right now.
So with 5 assassin bans and 1 assassin steal by RPG, this is CE's best practice for this kind of scenario. They're going to start off with the Grey main. Once again, still quite far down the pecking order, but still a very good assassin. Somehow Hanzo made it all the way through, and RPG making it even harder, picking up another 2 assassins.
No, there's not a whole lot left. I mean, mages, there's still plenty of to choose from. You know, the Li Ming, the Gul'dan. I mean, Gul'dan Tomb,
but he is now... There's Hanzo, but you're against a Chromie and a Tracer, so you could have issues there. We're down to the Gul'dans, like you said, maybe a Kael'thas, for example. Kael'thuzad. They're going to go with Medivh, and that, I believe, is a aloofal hero. Yeah, all right. So they've adjusted. They're going to try and run a solo Grey main carry here with Medivh as an empowerment and a little bit of extra mage damage.
Yeah, so we're probably going to see this infamous judgment style, you know, coming in from RPG. So what is good against that if your team comp lacks a cleanse? Which is what they're suffering from, right? Decker Kane doesn't have any of those. You apply protection, by the way. And Medivh currently, you know, the most reliable hero who can apply that. And not only do you have the shield to block all the damage, you also have an escape tool with those portals. So, you know, traditionally speaking, Tomb of the Spider Queen has always been a map on which we've seen more Medivh play than usual on others. So I'm digging the draft by CE. I think it's very innovative, and I think it's very strong if executed properly.
I just really love that they are using a tournament match that doesn't mean anything to them to practice a worst case scenario. This is scrim level stuff, but in a game where that you know your opponent, because RPG need to, are going to play 100% seriously. There's no sandbagging this for RPG. You are taking a tough opponent and forcing them to take you into a rough position so you get the best possible practice. This is genius.
All right, and in the left-hand side, we see CE again in the blue trunks with a Lufel on that Medivh. Wind is playing Johanna, 365 on the Decker Kane, KTY on the Blaze, and Juyu is playing the Grey Main.
And on the right-hand side, it is RPG with Chicken on Tracer, MJ on Malfurion, Sar on the Junkrat, C on the Tyrael, and Loktar on the Chromie, and Loktar's copying Sar's build. No! Please go for Dragon's Eye, Loktar.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you're right. For those of you who weren't watching earlier, we've seen a Chromie build focusing fully onto the W, onto Dragon's Breath, and also taking Mobius Loop at level 7, which decreases the damage by 25%, but also lowers the cooldown to make up for it. And quite honestly, it wasn't really the most effective thing we've ever seen, but of course the background behind it is the fact that RPG is currently a little low in wave clear, and with that increased radius that we're going to see in level 4 for the Chromie, we're going to have a little more of that.
Makes sense. The wave clear will be nice. Once you're fully stacked, you can very nearly one-shot minions, which means with the extra AoE from Junkrat, they will have no issue cleaning up a little bit later on. But I really hope they go for Dragon's Eye, because that little burst damage onto Web Weavers would be so important for them right now.
I mean, you could argue that with the Medivh, there's even less reason to go for that, right? Because he shuts you down, but still. Like, Medivh doesn't have the shield up 24/7. There's still no escape to the to the Temporal Loop because of no cleanse, so I think it's still the better call.
We'll see what they go for here, see if they agree with us. KTY gets a stun onto Chicken. Nice root onto Chicken, onto KTY here, and Tyrael gets the smite.
Yeah, I'm not sure why KTY stood still there for a moment. I don't know what happened there, but it was still...
I think it was just scouting.
Yeah, I think so too. So good roots, good follow-up CC and damage coming in from RPG, and already First Blood is on their side.
Portal Mastery, by the way, for the Medivh, my favorite talent. I am not a fan of the other two at all. Outside of the extra speed, if you do need to rotate, so I will forgive that one if it's a really big map, which this one is certainly not. Chromie, once again, extra AoE. Looking for the wave clear at the moment, not going to try and gain any stacks actively, except for the Q stacks, which are immediately coming in. But Zuyu standing inside that Wizard Mercenary range, so getting the spell shield, but it is now dead.
Speaking of mercenaries falling, the entire wave has basically been dealt with up to this point. CE still in a minor lead. Oh, look at that Lufel almost losing his stacks there to Chicken, who was going on a one-on-one duel. Good catch. And this is basically the same talent build, by the way, from C, like we've seen it in game number 2 where he went Judgment in the previous series, right? So unless he's trying to bluff his opponents or fake it out, I think we're going to see the exact same thing here. Bound by Law, look at that movement speed slow. So good, those zoning roots actually against Juyu. A little bit in trouble, but of course the portal would have been there anyways.
I agree with you that Judgment is very likely to be seen here, and they're just going to replace the Hinterland Blast with Riptire. That is my theory as well, and it should be enough. Damage is damage, and that damage is good. They also have Temporal Loop, so they can go for that double damage as we've seen them do it last time as well. They also had a Chromie with this composition, and they are still going with the exact same composition, that extra cooldown reduction and damage reduction on the Dragon Breath.
That is correct. So Mobius Loop, the exact same copycat build of Sa earlier on, seems to be an RPG in-house build, if you want to, because so far we have yet to see it from any other team. And with the wave clear, as we said, it's definitely going to help out. Sa, you're going to let KTY pay here. Good thing he paid attention to it. Let's actually take a look at the gem count all together. 16 to 11 turned in up to this point, but none of the team has enough to actually unlock the first set of web viewers anyways.
Now they do. You can immediately see that gem light up in the bottom left for CE. The caster cursed immediately coming into play. They don't have enough. Oh, they've gathered it. Okay. I guess we should gather some gems because the caster said we don't. As we see the damage coming in from Wind once again onto Wind. Sorry, more stacks being acquired by Loktar.
And you can always see the watchful eye of Medivh taking good care of his allies in need. And that is the beauty of Medivh, you know, having it against that Chromie and against that Tracer. You always know where they're going to strike you from, unless the enemy team sets up a surprise attack. You can even go down and play super cheeky against that Tracer here and prevent her from paying in. KTY now as a reinforcement's coming in too.
Did you know that level 1 talent for Chromie actually gives vision range when she completes the stacking as well?
Huh, I didn't know that.
I did not know that. I only just read that now. Now I read it. I know I've seen it before, but that is an extra 100% side range. Exactly, because that means Tyrael. It is because Tyrael now has range to dive. That's the point. Tyrael now can see people much further away and can potentially get much better engage opportunities than he would otherwise, especially at level 20.
All right. I mean, on a small map like Tomb, I don't think vision is necessarily the biggest of problems, but it's a nice bonus. It's a nice extra to have, that's for sure.
It's still good. 100% extra vision range is pretty wonderful when you have such ranged abilities as the Judgment, as all of Chromie's abilities, etc. But yeah, I'm really annoyed I did not know that.
I mean, to be fair, in our defense, nobody ever plays that build, or has played that build before, so...
yeah, no one plays deep breathing. It is, except for this team. But on the bright side, RPG are teaching us. Nice.
Is he going to make it?
Enough to finish him off? No, he'll go down. Nice stun to give himself some time. But he certainly bought time for his team. As such, CE, they do get the first turn-in of the game.
So apparently deep breathing increases your vision. Is that something you can translate over into real life?
I would assume so. Deep breathing is going to oxygenate your bloodstream and potentially make you more alert.
Alright, here we go. Temporal Loop engage onto Zuyu, who's carrying 25 gems. Is he going to lose him? Yes, he is.
He is going to die, but Wind going to pick up the gems, so they are mostly recovered.
But
he gets punted back in, protects the gems. Iron Skin is applied, and Wind is going to survive. Here's the turnaround, but where's the damage? What's that dive? Medivh's not here. Greybait's dead. They drop at least a little bit of damage. It certainly buys time for the Web Weavers, though.
Yeah, the Web Weavers in the meantime have been doing their shady business, that's for sure. And you can see how the lead that RPG had been able to establish themselves is shrinking slowly but surely now that towers are starting to fall against them. So, Medivh portal dive, here we go. Raven familiar, the slow and damage is real, but a beautiful concussion mine by Saw.
Saw escapes, C in a little bit of a rough position. Oh, came Rift, not in line. Alufal protects the stacks. He protects the stacks. And down goes bottom 4. Nice dive by CE. Not enough for a kill,
but can strike back. Both teams level 10 now. Judgment is here.
There is the Riptire as well. They are prepared. Debriefing not complete. Yes, no extra vision range to allow them this dive a little bit more. Tyrael needs to survive if he wants to judge, as he will be able to boost out facts. This might nice concussion mine coming in from Junkrat.
Yeah, I've got to say, man, Saw, not only did he save his own life there, but also saved his teammates. Locked her. Look at that sneaky move there. Paying the 25, not even needed, paying the 15 that were needed to unlock their own set of Web Weavers. And now it's time for RPG to basically de-push those lanes so the Web Weavers don't have to walk that long of a distance and they won't lose that much health in the process.
And apparently Medivh had no stacks because he had not at that point. I did not see that. But either way, he probably got some in that little chase at minimum. So now Medivh has to actually survive to protect his stacks. Now then, Web Weavers from the counter side, RPG, as Locktower did get that sneaky turn in, as we did see earlier. C puts the pressure onto mid lane.
Leyline Seal is here. So there's a lot of cooldowns that RPG need to count right now, right? Ideally, the portal and the Leyline Seal. The moment these things are used, they can maybe start engaging with that judgment here. Otherwise, Medivh is just going to protect the targets anyways. Juju takes that damage as well. Lufal under trouble.
Uh-oh. Layla up. Okay, Ben Chicken escapes.
It's all good.
Blessed Shield is used, and as such, will not be available for at least a little bit here. Riptide was also used there. They were not able to get the full engagement, as Judgment was not used to set up for it. Still have Twilight Dream, though, so if Malfurion can get him raised, then Judgment Twilight Dream can still be a thing.
Honestly, all the tools are still available, with the exception of Riptide. Here goes the Temporal Loop, though. We don't see the target is casted on right now. Zuyu in trouble, and he gets blown to pieces.
And this combo still just works. By the way, Locktar, he believes in himself, and why shouldn't he? But he is going for the here and there as the level 11 talent. That is a risky pick. I'd be really curious to know what stacks he's on to think that that is justifiable so early.
Yeah, you know, in order to get value from this talent, you actually need to activate your Sand Clone. And if that Sand Clone is active, basically, you can activate this talent and swap positions with it. So it's a really nice disengage tool. But as you said, Tetcher, it's not a guaranteed one to have right of the get-go. So ideally, he's going to have it in a few minutes from now. We don't know how many stacks he's sitting on this Sand Blast. But yeah, it's interesting. I've always wanted to see that in pro play.
He's definitely going to get it. The extra damage output that he's getting in the late
34,
game. Oh, thank
35.
you, observers. 35, 10 stacks of Deep Breathing, 18 of Arcane Rift. Nice.
I'm not sure. Yeah, and by the way, we saw Luful sitting at 18 stacks, so he can very well lose his stacks if he goes in too deep.
Yeah, and 3 stacks of Untouchable as well for for Tracer, sorry, who could also lose her stacks if she goes in too deep. So keep an eye on Medivh, keep an eye on Tracer. Which one will keep their stacks all the way to completion, and which one will lose their stacks? And Tracer, of course, she can lose her stacks even if she maxes all the way up. Riptide from downtown is just going to set up for a judgment. They're burning through the duration here. I think this is meant to be a setup. No, just runs in, does a bit of damage to the Web Weaver.
All right, this is a mighty push now going in for CE and RPG. They're running out of time here. The Stay One Listen hits. Chromie damage is real though. 365 in trouble.
Ooh. Nice little move in there by CE. Then this is going to allow them to take down their second fort of the game. Doing a nice little job there. They begin to rotate up to top lane.
Yeah, the problem here was, of course, that 2 heroes of RPG were still side soaking, right? We had Tracer in the bottom, and we had Junkrat in the top lane. And without those heroes, there's not really a whole lot of damage you can apply to keep the enemy heroes at bay. And as such, the middle towers are starting to fall one after the other. Tracer is slowly going to regroup. But despite, you know, taking a couple of hits, despite taking a couple of blows, RPG, they're still doing a mighty good job actually keeping the experience count as evenly as possible.
They are indeed. But now, with Tracer going for those leeching rounds, as she has done every single time when Chicken plays her, it's going to be a lot of extra damage output. Because, not due to the fact that it's extra damage from Ricochet, but because Tracer's going to be alive longer. The extra sustain, staying in the fight longer, means more damage in these more longer drawn-out fights, which is actually an interesting thought, because they've gone the build that requires the fights to go longer on Tracer, and taken everything else about ending the fight as fast as possible.
Yeah, you know, there's always going to be a little bit of an aftermath after one hero gets picked up, so I think it's okay. But what really baffles me here is the fact that Tyrael hasn't used Judgment a whole lot. He's almost a little too passive or too patient, I feel like. It really looks to me like CE is in the driver's seat, when if you take a look at RPG's team comp, it's not built to be defensive, right? You want to bring the pain to your opponents, but instead RPG is more, you know, occupied defending and pushing the lanes rather than trying to fight against CE heroes.
But they snuck a turn in. Lockstar can now rotate to his team. This is going to give them the chance to maybe try and kill a fort. Bot fort is super low, but the lane is quite pushed up. Junkrat trying to fix that, but the Web Weaver still spawns quite early. That will begin ticking down very quickly. Mid lane is going to be the lane of choice. Tyrael sword down. KTY dashes away. I think they're trying to force out the bunker early so that they can't block damage from Judgment. Temporal Loop is good. Onto Zhuyu. He gets in the bunker, but now the bunker is used. It sees time to shine. Here comes the Riptide. Who is the target? Going to be Wind by the looks of it. They don't even use the Judgment still. Yeah, the Judgment is basically kept there until all the other tools are available. Here it comes. Protection is too good though, by the way. Nicely done, Medivh, keeping Greymane alive as they chase forwards, looking for more members. Leyline Seal on just Tyrael, but he tanks through it, and we see basically everything burned by both teams except for Go for the Throat and Twilight Dream, and neither one gets a kill. Like, it's so hard for C on that Tyrael to really find that opening, right? To find that sweet spot of casting Judgment at the right time. When there's a bunker, as you said, when there's the Medivh shields, there is so much that can keep people alive, so it's really hard to find the right moment and the right target to actually collapse them. But still, that being said, RPG's making at least a little bit of progress. They're pulling even in structures. Both mid and bottom fort have been taken out, so the next time they actually get that turn in, and they still have plenty of gems in their bank accounts, then they might even get a keep or at least threaten one. CE beginning to move forwards. They do not have enough for another turn in, but they're pretty close. But RPG, they do have enough, which is why CE are playing so far forward. even after that turn, and even though they're currently down in terms of experience. Here comes more damage from Chromie. Deep Breathing is going to be getting up there at this point in terms of stacks. Still no sound clone, though, so she's had a dead talent now for 5 levels.
Yeah, she could have taken the timeout, you know, and get a little something out of it. Even the bye-bye probably would have provided more protection than the here and there, as you said. There we go. Deep breathing is now complete, and Locktar's damage is going to ramp up quite nicely.
Going to help him with the wave clear, and of course the extra damage here. Cooldown reduction with extra damage is nice to spam that out. Temporal Loop, Portal used to try and abuse Temporal Loop. Here comes... No, it mistimed! He mistimed the Force of Will. A Loopful is down. Stacks are lost here, I'm pretty sure. Judgment with a Loopful down. Where's your protection? Double kill is achieved as Juyu goes down.
And if they're playing this smart now, they could even start the boss, right? To go for the maximum push value. But sometimes... Oh, are they actually going to do it? 6 left? No, that's exactly 60.
Can they start this camp? Yes, they can. See?
They're
oh, yeah, see, it's 21. They're holding it. So are they planning on doing Bruiser, Turn-In, and Boss? That would be mental. So look at this. Alufal, he knows what he needs to do. He immediately turns the Force of Will, but he mistimes it because Chromie delayed her combo a second or two to move out the way of the ley line.
Yeah, and then Bunker arrives just a second too late there. So does the Stay a While and Listen. And the disaster was perfect. They stole the bruises. They're not really trying to go for the boss here. I think that would take too much time. They're trying to basically fight this now with Web Weavers, with minions, and the mercenaries.
The turn-in arrives. Webweaver in the mid lane. They're going to potentially try and look for a keep. Wind immediately dives past via the portal, trying to force away the pressure and harassment. Chromie aims a shot at the portal exit, but no one else came through. This was a Johanna distraction play to buy them some time to start burning down this Webweaver. Tower will die, but the keep shall survive.
Yeah, the keep survives in RPG.
Tower will not die. What?
Yeah, it's the ultimate survivor. But RPG is playing this very patient, right? They realize, you know what, we didn't have most of our heroic abilities yet. It only came off cooldown now, the Riptire that is. So they're pulling back, they're regrouping for now, and they're trying to maybe farm a couple of more gems for yet another treasure. I'm not really sure how many gems they had left in their pockets after this. Not that many, I presume.
Stuck in a loop coming in for Chromie at level 20. The second temporal loop. This could very easily throw off Medivh. And I think that's the plan here. Blow up Medivh, keep those stacks at a 0 amount, keep him burning Force of Will, so then you can just set up and blow him up the second it's gone.
Yeah, and once again, against a team that doesn't have Cleanse, the triple suck-in, if you will, from the Temporal Loop is so good. And you mentioned the Medivh as well. It really messes up not only his timing, but also his portal placement, right? Because that target will get sucked in even if it enters the portal.
Very true. Portal does not give unstoppable. And there is no Cleanse, as we've mentioned before. Bunker's going to be important here. It's going to have to be the saving grace. As
Chicken is dancing. Chicken is just dancing with them. Missing so many abilities, see, that is.
Juyu gets his 11 gems in, though. That's going to at least put a weight off his shoulders as he is currently being chased down. Chromie damage landing onto Juyu here. Here's the Judgment. Force of Will is good, but the Riptire gives chase onto Alufal, kills him off again. And Juyu begins retreating backwards with the rest of the team. This is going to be a 1-for-0 here as the rest of CE... Oh, never mind. Let's make that a 2-for-0 as Saar barely survives the Greymane burst, but they pick him up.
They pick him up indeed, and it looks like instead of forcing something near the enemy towers, look at the health bars as well, MJ not doing so well, they decide to go for that boss. Their boss racing, their boss clearing speed is actually pretty insane, especially with Chicken getting more and more untouchable stacks, but here we see that beautiful engage once again onto Juyu, baits out the shield, baits out the bad position also from Alufal, and that is where Chicken and Junkrat capitalize on it, and they blow Medivh to pieces.
With Medivh down, I'm pretty sure he didn't fully stack. I thought I saw the stack disappearing.
No, it was fully stacked.
Might be
we didn't see the mini symbol there. So he was fully stacked this time.
Okay, fair enough. Understood. So I guess that icon I saw was the fully stacked icon. I thought I saw the X going through. My mistake. As boss is taken, turn-in not available for RPG. Looks like they don't want to push with the boss this time. Just going to have 3 people up here. Chromie and Tracer are on the way. So it's going to be a slow push while they wait for Tracer.
The portal is good. Is CE brave enough to walk through it, though? The roots are already put here. 365 in a lot of trouble.
flanking Tracer also coming in from the side. Riptide, huge damage onto a Lethal here. The leyline seal, though, bought them some time. This is going to allow the boss to take down the keep, but it allows CE a chance to heal everyone up and sustain. And finally, Chromie's completed the Sandblast quest.
She now has an escape, with here and there being able to swap positions with that Sand Clone. It's a pretty tricky ability, but it looks like RPG is committed. Looks like they want to make this core call a reality, though. CE is looking still mighty healthy with the exception of KT1 and that Blaze. And it looks like RPG is not brave enough. We're backing off for now.
You can see Loktar swapping places with his Sand Clone there, giving himself the best possible route to escape. Now then, gems, enough available for CE, not that many more needed for RPG, another 10 required, which is not that difficult. That's 3 and a bit lanes. Easy enough as we see our Junkrat immediately going to bot lane to see if we can grab some already to clean out the lanes.
Yeah, and you know, you also have to understand, I think, why RPG is playing this so carefully, because everything is on the line for them. If they win this game, that means they're not going to have to go down to the Crucible, because their ranking will be good enough to secure them 5th place, and they really don't want to make any mistakes. And although CE has shown signs of weaknesses in this series, and although they're not playing a super serious draft by any means, I would say, they're still CE after all, and they're still not going to give you that victory just like that. So them playing really, really carefully, really patiently here is a safe thing to do.
Judgment is used. Riptide coming in from below. Gets good damage onto 365, who tries to drop the sleep and will just get taken out by Tracer. Force of Will is a good protection here. The Chromie is down, like you said. You can see Yu getting swapped in for the 2nd time there, as Chicken has realized that he's suddenly alone. That is a problem. Untouchable stacks might have to be rescued here, or untouchable stacks are gonna have to be regained here as Chicken is chased down and killed. Rip untouchable stacks and CE. Suddenly, right as the game looks like it was potentially over, they hit level 20, they get a turn in, they are moving towards the RPG keeps in core.
And Tetcher, I think they might have finally done it. This looks like a 1-1 right now, unless RPG somehow, some way manages to pull that defense up. C is going in like an absolute madman, trying to actually buy precious seconds until Chromie, until Tracer respawn.
And RPG have to defend this. They have to defend this if they want to keep themselves safe from that Crucible. Otherwise, they're going to have to fight for it. As Sar comes down, Concussion Mine. Only one Web Weaver. Everyone's coming back to life. Loktar is here. Chromie is still away. Tracer is still a while away. Temporal Loop being used. The silence is good. Good Force of Will, though. And the core going down. Medivh Chief shuts down the defense. And with the bunker, that is going to be it. CE takes the 1-1, and they shut down the dreams of RPG. RPG still in the danger zone.
All the way in the danger zone. But it's safe to say that they've been looking good. Whether CE was taking this series 100% seriously or not, I want to get my verdict onto that, but it's definitely safe to say that RPG fought valiantly in that 2nd game. And for the most part, Tetcher, they were in the lead. I think at some point you could really see, though, how they were playing it too patiently, too scared maybe even, because especially when they had that one turn where they could have gone for the boss, they didn't even take that risk. They went for the Bruiser Camp, and the Bruiser Camp unfortunately doesn't hit that hard. Maybe if they had taken that boss instead, that top keep would have fallen much earlier, and they could have maybe even closed out the game with a good pick or two.
And after getting 0-2'd twice today, Timeless and the rest of KT are going to be breathing a sigh of relief, because now
deep breathing.
They are in a solid 5th position. This is the safety net. Even if the only scenario that is the nightmare scenario right now for KT is if Team Nut 2-0 the A team, then Team Nut and KT will be tied. That is the only scenario now that puts KT in any danger at all. Any other result, a 2-0 by the A-Team or a 1-1 between the A-Team and Team Nut, is giving KT a free pass to not go to the Crucible.
And we do not know the current status of Fei Yi and whether he's going to return for today's game, which is probably going to be one of the more important games in Team Nut's young history. But if he doesn't return, which we just presume will be the case, then they're still going to have to play with 7 Milk and the weekend roster, if you will, because Team Nut just hasn't looked the same ever since that little roster change took place. And for those of you wondering where Fei Yi is currently at, well, we only received notification that he is dealing with personal issues. So it could be family, it could be health. We just hope for a speedy recovery one way or the other.
That we do. But for now, CE, they have managed to pull off one of the riskiest practice moves you can possibly do. As we went on about before the draft, really, even before the game started, and they have found out information. And the information they found out is they really don't want those heroes to be banned, and they need to practice. Because it is a situation where they put themselves in the worst possible scenario, and they almost got wrecked by a team that is currently about 5 teams below them in terms of actual league ranking. Not in terms of skill, I'd say, because I think RPG are really good right now. And it's only due to the great performance of KT in the earlier weeks that they were able to place ahead of RPG right now. But CE, they have a lot of heroes to practice. They have to practice against certain styles of burst comps, and they got put in trouble. RPG took game number 1 as well. They've managed to find out that the Shogal comp needs work, and especially they need to work on some of those lower down the pick order assassin compositions and playstyles.
Here's the good news, though, for CE, right? True, they need a little bit of practice on some of the non-standard, none of the non-mainstream compositions that they've been practicing over and over, but they do have a coach now, and I think right now, CE may very well be the only Chinese pro team with a dedicated coach. Now, we don't know whether the coach is going to stay there until mid-season, until Eastern Clash or even BlizzCon, but it's definitely cool to see some reinforcements and guide CE a little bit more to work on their weaknesses.
I will actually look to see if there is another known, at least, coach.
I mean, we haven't really seen any coaches in the booth, and I think that's where they would probably stay during those drafts, right?
Indeed. Sub. Okay, so there's a lot of people down as subs, no one down as coaches.
All right. So man, that's how you sometimes win games, eh, Tetcher? 3-9 in terms of kills. As long as you get those kills when they matter, as long as you come back in the late game, even after struggling in the early mid game, hey, that's all that matters. It's like those infamous stitches, right? You missed them all game long, that one connects in the late game, and you're going to take that victory home, baby.
Mosh pit as well. That's another fantastic example. Doesn't matter how many mosh pits you hit, as long as the one you hit really works, you're probably fine. But yeah, shout out to your Hero League friends, everyone. Anyone who gets salty tries to call GG early. As long as your core has more than 0 health, you are ready to win the game. As 365 gets the MVP, those sleeps were good, and the heals keeping a lot of people alive. I think I maybe would have given it to a Lufel. Those Force of Wills are really the only reason they actually survived that game as long as they did.
Yeah, gotta give it to 365. You know, 0 deaths on a support is always a good testimony of his performance there. So really well played by him. Now though, Tetra, while we're waiting for the replay analysis, we're basically left with one more game, one final game of today in that last final day of regular league play. Once again, for those of you tuned in a few minutes ago maybe, or who are watching for the first time, next Monday, same time, same place, we're going to have the playoffs of HGC China going on. The schedule actually was super compressed this time around because we had to get those games rolling for visa applications for the Eastern Clash participants and so on and so forth.
And now, like you said, there is only, after the analysis, of course, one more series left for the day. It's the battle for last place. In theory, if the A-team win, it will be a tied last place with Team Nut and the A-team both placing in the same position, which means we won't have to play a tiebreaker. Hooray, because they play each other first in the playoffs anyway. So that one's not such a big deal.
Yeah.
But of course, if it's a 1-1, then they stay the same. A-team last, Team Nut second in 7th. But it's all about Team Nut. If they get that 2-0, then suddenly RPG have problems, KT have problems, everyone has problems if Team Nut gets that 2-0.
So can A-team be that bastion of hope for the other teams that refuses or rejects, I should say, the 2-0 of Team Nut? We are going to find out right after this segment. And I'm not sure if we can highlight anything of that first game that is worth mentioning other than Shogal sometimes overstaying his welcome. But for the second game, I think there's plenty of stuff to talk about. But here goes the second game. No, the first game. There we go.
Although something I will point out is we've been calling this lovely fellow here Tiger. Due to a bit of miscommunication, I found out that his name is actually Yidao.
Yidao?
Yidao. So Yidao, something like that.
There we go. So where did you find that out? Did someone text you?
Or Yidao. Someone linked me the Wikipedia page, which
Hey.
has his player name, which
you're gonna
has
have to
his
link me that too.
announce
I
name.
want to read up.
It's the regular page. The standard one has all of their names, including obviously Genshibo as Mao Fang, Yideo, Q, Yaya, Nova, and Nostally.
There we
And then
go.
also, and then we are there under EN.
Man, now it's going to be so hard to actually get that tiger out of my head.
I know, it's going to take a while for us to learn. But we got it. So Yidao coming in here, and let's see what we have here. He is currently highlighting the Cho'Gall with the upgraded level 20 Twilight Hammer, making him more ranged, actually. The Auric with the percentage damage auto attacks, loving that.
Yeah, it's been a while since I last saw that one. Normally we're used to seeing either the Silencing Entomb at level 20, or if he went for March of the Black King, it is sometimes, the upgraded one, but more commonly the Burning Despair, which is the damage aura that engulfs Leoric.
You always gotta love damage, and in aura form is the most convenient form of damage. As we do see, he gets a lovely Entomb, this time onto KTY, who had a pretty miserable game, honestly. KTY just got focused so ridiculously hard this game.
It's actually insane if you think about it. Like, I never thought I would see a Sonya struggle this much when there's a Cho'Gall who's supposed to, get all the attention, right? And because, as you said, KTY had to be saved there by Alexstrasza, that means there's no more Lifebinder available for Cho'Gall, who is currently facing off the entire enemy team, plus mercenaries, plus catapults.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough, and with all of this, the Gust certainly did buy them some time, because it pushed all those mercenaries away from the core, as it had already taken catapult damage earlier. But with Cho'Gall going down so early, like you said, Lifebinder's not even close to him, we're going to jump to the draft for game number 2, and I'm pretty sure at this point, Yidao is going to hopefully highlight what I highlighted earlier.
And that was...
And that was the fact that, okay, we're separating it out into the pick order for now, and that is the fact that CE banned out 3 assassins before picking a single one. They then let their opponents ban away 2 and pick 1. They even picked another one before the final. They even picked another 2 assassins before the final pick of CE. CE actively tried to make their assassin pick as bad as possible. They still went for the highest priority from what was left, but they were trying to practice against a team that had to try hard, so there was no possibility of sandbagging the practice to make CE a little bit worse as a team. They were actively trying to practice and make themselves pick some of the lesser pick supports to so they can play around getting choked out potentially at the Eastern Clash. And of course, against the huge amount of burst, they reacted with, okay, we have 1 assassin. Our better reaction here is to keep him alive, because that's a lot of burst. Another assassin's just an extra target. Let's pick them a Div. And it worked out very well for them.
I think the biggest issue for CE, or for RPG, sorry, here, was the fact that Falstad was actually not available. And if you remember the games earlier, the most successful assassin for Locktar has been that Falstad. When they are in synchrony with the remaining lockdown tools, right? That's where they would blow the Hinterland Blast onto the defenseless target. But with that one being shut down, they kind of had to come up with a replacement, and that in that case was Junkrat. Now, Junkrat had a couple of good moves, especially when it came to saving himself or allies with those concussion mines. However, in the actual team fights, I don't think it was a worthy substitute for that Falstad. The killing potential simply wasn't there for the most part. Go for it.
Was there anything you would have preferred? No, I was agreeing with you. Was there anything you would have preferred?
That's a tricky question, isn't it? Maybe go for another mage that is a little more target burst oriented. Maybe a Li Ming.
Kel'Thuzad. Li Ming could also fit in, but
Li
can't really
Ming,
follow up.
Kel'Thuz even, to be honest. But the Junkrat, I mean, it's a good hero. Don't get me wrong, but it's also very volatile. Like, if the grenades don't drop...
slow.
Yeah, I would have actually preferred a little more... Like, even a Gul'dan could have worked out, to be honest, with a Great Fear. You really interrupt all that protection value from Medivh.
Possibly. Hold on to crowd control, and we cut back to Yidao while the video is still playing, because he is done, and as such, so are we with this series. We only have 1 more series of regular season play, don't we, Kendrick?
Exactly. The last series for this normal regular league play season is going to be the A team facing off Team Nut. So make sure to stay tuned, because you don't want to go home without knowing who's going to take that series.